I just want to go back to Brownsville. You see, because at least in Brownsville, you know what to expect. I mean, from the minute that you start walking through them projects, you got to keep your head up like this to make sure ain't nobody gonna hit you on the head with a bottle. And then, once you get inside into the lobby, you got your small-time crack dealers, yo. And they be selling crack for just $5. And crackheads like crackhead Kwanda, she be having sex with them in the back staircase. Nasty. But we don't just got your small-time crack dealers. I mean, we got crack apartments, we got crack houses, we even got crack stores. One time, I went inside this store, and the dude was like, "What you want?" And I was like, "A ring ding?" But they ain't even have no ring dings in that store, yo. Just crack. I mean, I ain't got no idea what crack look like or nothing, but I know for sure that it be all over inside, and they come inside of these real little tiny clear plastic vials with different color caps. They're about the size of a .22 bullet. For the smaller ones, for the bigger ones, it's like a .38 or Uzi shell. Which reminds me of the first dude that I ever knew that was murdered. It went something like this. It was around 9:25 on a Tuesday night. See, I remember because I had just finished watching Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, and I was right at the end of my favorite, Mork and Mindy. See, Mork had just finished calling Orson when pow, 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 me lo mataron, me lo mataron. This lady named Saida, she was screaming real loud, Joe. She was screaming because they had just shot her husband, Chung. Oh, he's not Chinese or nothing. They just call him Chung because he got slanty eyes, but he's really Puerto Rican. They just shot him, yo. Right there in front of his whole family. He should have known better. When you're getting robbed, you can't make no sudden moves, you know? You just gotta give them what they want. Shoot, I knew that from the time that I was 8 years old riding in the elevator, when it was just me, my mommy, and this dude that I never seen before. Oh, and crazy Miss Stark. Ha, 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 how you doing? Ha, 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 how you doing? Don't matter how many times you say good, fine, thank you, Miss Stark just keeps saying the same thing. Ha, 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 how you doing? When Miss Stark got off of the elevator, then it was just me, my mommy, and that dude that I never seen before. Eighth floor. He getting off. Elevator doors is closing. Your money or your life. My mommy ain't make no sudden moves, you know? She just stepped a little bit in front of me. And then she handed him her last $5, you know? And then she said, "Why you robbing me? I'm poor." When we get inside, Mommy tried to pretend like everything was okay, you know? And then she started cleaning. And then she started crying. Ay, Dios mío. ¿Por qué tú me diste esta vida, Dios? Why? I'm a good woman. And then Mommy felt her back pocket, and she realized that she had her carterita back there, yo. That's her change purse. And she opened it up, and she counted it, and she had like $3 in there, yo. And Mommy, she got so happy, she started making fun of the dude. She was like, "Mira, pero que he's so stupid." My mommy always found ways to be happy, yo. And that's how I learned to be happy. When bad things happen, you just gotta look for the change. And that is a very small portion of my one-woman show, Brownsville Bred, that I developed right here at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe before it took me off Broadway, where the New York Times raved, "From girlhood trials to onstage triumph." My name is Elaine del Valle, and we are here at Digital Verse in front of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And this is our second installment, a collaboration between two great New York spaces, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe and Greene Space. For the next half hour, we're going to be bringing you spoken word poetry from some of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe's most esteemed poets and a few up-and-comers that are exploding onto the scene. These spoken word videos were all written, performed, and filmed by New York City artists, right here in New York City, all doing it while social distancing. First up, we have Reg E. Gaines, a Tony Award-winning playwright, what? A Grammy-nominated lyricist, ooh, and the artistic director of the Downtown Urban Arts Festival. Check it out. This is Black and Blue Blindness.
Systemic strategic skullduggery based on preservation of slavery maneuvers murderous mentality in every law enforcement agency where 83% require a GED, while only 8% four-year degree. Stupidity rarely discussed, yet most of us witness ignorant acts of police brutality daily. Blue-on-black blindness creating codes of silence perpetuates hate, reluctance to regulate cops committing catastrophic crimes. Trapped in confines of denial, killing with conviction, violence integral components of convoluted job description, apprenticed in Gulf, Iraq, Afghanistan. Clanist tendencies terrorizing borders, no law, just orders to shock and awe. Intimidating forces must be forced to take courses in empathy so there'll be less uneducated officers occupying areas, serving while learning unnerving tactics, earning commendations, dealing death, degradation deeply in doubt. Shouting, shoving, shooting, slandering, little understanding of tense situations, believing black skin disposable, supposing privilege license for haphazard actions, calculated chaos created. As another black body checkmated, hypocrisy becomes transparent accountability, hiding intellectual inferiority behind conservative masks of morality, while from doorsteps to storefronts to bedrooms, blue-black blindness is what we see. Peace.
And that was Reg E. Gaines. And next up is Peggy Robles Alvarado. She's a Dominican and Puerto Rican Pushcart Prize nominee. And I don't mean tin cans, you know what I'm talking about? And a 3-time International Latino Book Award winner. Check out Peggy Robles Alvarado.
When my son asks if superheroes eat sancocho, staring at the bowl of beef tips, corn, plátanos, yuca, and sweet potatoes simmering in the savory broth set on the dinner table, my son, in a Spider-Man t-shirt, binds each wrist in kitchen twine left over from last week's pasteles, renames it webbing. Crouching in his seat, he pulls the red knit face cap above his lips and asks, "Is this what superheroes eat?" With pen and paper, I begin to draw the North Atlantic Sea. Use my fingers to shape pepper into land masses. Spoons serve as ships for sun-drunk sailors who lost their god before gunpowder and smoke, lusting on discovery. The Guanches, Mayan, and Arawak, tales drawn in stone and sand, once swallowed by oceans, begin to surface in small pools of salt, swirling under our fingertips. Unwrapping the webbing from his left wrist, I trace lines rooted in herbs, spices, tubers, and shadows, from Spain to cinders in Africa and the Canary Islands. I form lines from pulsing caves in South America to blood and bone of the Caribbean. I stop at the stench of cattle, colonizer, and anchored bodies that survived clinging to the hulls of ships. Pressing a thumb on our home in this makeshift map, unraveling beside his bowl, I tell him of teeth with ghost tongues, left behind by storytellers. Phantom mouths that knew we would find ways to form webs, linking us to the dust of banished bodies devoured by sugarcane, or stung by strange illnesses that left no superhuman abilities, just ash and bite marks on tender-skinned orphans, not as lucky as Peter Parker. I tell him sancocho is what we eat, to map our skin with resurrection, trace the currents of oceans in our palms. Every mouthful a reminder, our souls are indestructible, just like superheroes.
Hello, that was Peggy Robles Alvarado with When My Son Asks, Do Superheroes Eat Sancocho? Of course we do, hello. All right guys, next up, what do we have? Rey Jane, coming from far Rockaway, Queens, and she describes herself as a New Yorker from her head down to her little toes. Check her out.
I love you. With a breath that was never mine, a shared dream, a whisper in wind, a kind gesture at wit's end, I love you. With everything and always, like infinity was meant to be, I love you. At the tips of myself with bunny-eared pockets when ducats miss, when all the world seems amiss. I love you like your Mrs. Mr. I love you. Above shouted wrongs warm you. Through the cold of turned back, I love you. Past petty preachings, I love you. When wrong is all I manage, I love you. When your mannish feeds you, in famish, I love you. Between knowing glance while upheld hands spread, fingers wide, willing to ride if them boys attempt to divide us when black and blue souls collide us, red dotted with periscope. I love you like a black woman copes indefinitely, immaculately, even in trap, hands covered in powder while you stack attempts at white power. I still love you, even when you can't seem to see me. Trade me out for fairer faucets who figure your faults are your only asset. I love you. Like a classic 1959 convertible Porsche, yeah, that's it. I love you like a Vlasic. You pickled me with emotional acid. Forgive you when you carelessly throw the matches, knowing we covered in gas. It's a TKO. I love you more than you know.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? That was Rey Jane giving you some tough love. And now we have come to a very important portion of our little show here, and that is the time that we ask you to humbly donate to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe or to Greene Space. It is very hard for us to keep our doors open during this pandemic and at all times. So if you feel so inclined, if you liked Rey Jane, if you have some tough love, if you like Peggy Robles Alvarado, if you eat sancocho, if you're a superhero, if you like Elaine del Valle, if you're Brownsville bred, if you want to support the arts in New York City, now is the time for you to donate. And you can do so by what? Going to nuyorican.org/contribute. Or you can also text the word live to 70101. That's how you give. That's how you give and you support the arts here, right here in New York City. Up next, we have Paul con queso, sin mantequilla, pero con queso, AKA Paul La Torre. Paul is a poet professor, a publisher, an activist from Newark, New Jersey, who teaches creative writing at Bloomfield College. Check him out.
Self-doubt is a lot like poison. It gets in the veins and will stay until either you suck it out or it ends you. This viper-like cloud of talking down through voices in head, anti-counseling, downtrodden, fang-sinking, stinger-stinging, pincers clamping, necromancing the dead of missed opportunity. Zombie bites to neck, turning you nihilist. This parasite seemingly from nowhere latching onto skin to form supersuit of symbiotic abuse, in whose venomous, sharpened, saw-like teeth should peer back from the mirror but yours before you head into the night. No web-slinging, truth-bringing hero, or super soldier serum to save your soul. Just carnage of carnal instinct. You are not the protagonist in this comic strip. Friendly neighborhood do-gooding spider kid, this transmuting mutant power only patrols streets to feed. I've long felt an avenger on the verge of vengeance over relentless sacrifice. But that mindset of blind heroism is precisely what got Iron Man killed. Had he kept Narcissist and not fallen for Pepper and had a kid who loved him 3,000, perhaps he would have stuck around long enough to rust and gray. But is that the heroic way? Should I be the Hamilton to act on ideals and write like I'm running out of time, patterning vernacular to pen my own narrative, music, and lyrics and languish over it like Lin-Manuel Miranda did? Or in this internal rivalry, am I key antagonist, the Aaron Burr, biding my time, strategically pacing for my place in history to wait for it? Ideal opportunity to pounce. I am perhaps too OCD, controlling, afraid to be out of control, knowing I am the one thing in life I can truly manipulate. What is it like in the shoes of any man more certain in his circumstance? If only I could change my place. Freaky Friday my way into the verse of a less self-effacing, deprecating, self-deflating dirigible, pushing pins into my own airship, consuming helium of this Archimedes principled air balloon basket, weaved, displacing the buoyancy of my own flight. If I was myth, you could call me Icarus, wax wing, beating against this heat of sun, burning me up at both ends, aerodynamic, scrambling for parachute, only to be consumed by sea, my own salty contingency. Ambition not grand enough, I am just arrogant, flapping hubris like wings made of papier-mâché. Confidence combustible as propane, flammable pain, I learned the hard way from my mother, the hummingbird, that as hard as wings beat, so does the heart, and that lends itself to not only art which outlasts, but early death from cardiac arrest. And the hardened arteries of her fast flapping lifestyle robbed her from me at the fledgling age of 20, and quite starkly, that's why I can't be Iron Man or Tony Stark. This arc reactor of my chest will always hold hold, will always beat primarily for itself, until it won't. Until I found the antidote for this venom within, siphoning poison from skin. You see, when you find the thing or things that allows your heart to propel itself with seemingly no effort, just let it beat. Whether that's love, family, poetry, flap those wings. Because when you and divine energy connect in synergy, you feed that goddamn thing until it can no longer eat. Overstuff its gut with anti-venom. Do not sit on your hands and wait for it to be subdued or come to you. We will never lose the venomous, the poison kiss. It's the necessary double edge of this weaponized life. But remember, the antidote always comes from the poison itself. You cannot be cured unless you submit to the fact a bit of venom helps to kill the doubt within ourselves. We all hold the cure. Your body houses the virus as well as the key to the vaccine. And I guarantee, hard as I try to self-sabotage, this time I am not going away. My shot.
What? That was Paul Latorre. And you can check him out online at Paul Con Queso. And if you're going to follow him, you better follow me on Instagram at Elaine del Valle Director. And now, who do we have next? Elizabeth Velasquez. That's right, people. Her Boricua parents cheated her out of her H in the last name Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth Velasquez, and here she is. She is here with Class Clown.
I don't know why we get in trouble for laughing. If they saw how much time we spent crying, they would be encouraging our laughter instead. One day, our laughter will be revered. Our laughter will have its own holiday and parade. Our laughter will be a mandatory course of study in school. Our laughter will be researched and analyzed by scientists. Religious organizations will call our laughter a false prophet, fearing we found a new God in our smile. We'll blast our laughter out of car stereos in the summer so loud that they'll want to feature it in the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Maybe our laughter will be the torch. Maybe they'll want to make our laughter the national anthem. Maybe our laughter will cure our bodies. Maybe our laughter will be hereditary. Our laughter will be as full as the check cashing place on the first of the month. Our laughter won't ever be hungry. Our laughter won't ever be worried. Our laughter will stay strapped. Our laughter will split skulls. Our laughter will dance like it's never had any sense. Our laughter will sound like it caught the Holy Spirit. Our laughter will be so much of a miracle that God will give it its own heaven. Maybe our laughter will be so valuable that someone will try to steal it, that they will try to bootleg it, that they will try to sell it back to us at a higher price, that we will have to protect it, that it will have to come with a warning, that we'll have to tell our children, laugh at your own risk. And they will, and they will, and maybe they do, and maybe we do.
And that was Elizabeth Velasquez. And you're going to want to remember that name, folks, because she has a book coming out from Penguin Random House in 2022. It's called When We Make It. When they're going to make it? 2022. I don't know what's taking them so long, but if you guys want to read a really good book in the meantime, I got right here for you guys, Brownsville Bread by yours truly. You can get it anywhere books are sold, or just go to your local library, ask them for it, it's free. And now we have Darien Deshawn, who is an actor, writer, musician, has appeared on and off Broadway. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is his. And then the Black people won.
And then the Black people won. After the chains, before they knew what was coming when they least expected it. After the verdict, before the judgment. After the gun smoke cleared in the heart of white supremacy. In the final throes, when it counted the most, when they counted us out, when they thought we was playing. When we knew what we had to do, and we all saw the end game. Fought as if our lives depended on it, because it did. Born in the gutter at the bottom beneath the boat, in the belly of white supremacy. When the cut of every microaggression became our tattoos of resilience. When the ancestors spoke to us and laid the blueprint. When all felt lost and the chaos of life seemed unbearable. Right when they told us we couldn't. In the middle of a pop and lock, at the end of a dream, somewhere between despair and divinity, revelation and epiphany, with a symphony playing like the score in a movie where you know something triumphant is about to go down. It is going down. Prepare to throw down. It was when the impossible was upon us. Do you remember? The day it shifted, it moved, it expanded what we called consciousness, what we called perception. And you felt it in the soles of your feet, and you knew it was true because it danced up your spine. Do you remember when? It was at the dawn of a new day, just after breakfast, on the ride over when you were exercising, in the shower, at work, with the kids, chatting with the fam. When you turned off the TV, saw it on Facebook. At the rally when we hit those streets, gave that speech and won that race and walked that walk and talked that talk and changed everything. Flipped the script, altered the paradigm, remixed the story, pimp slapped the patriarchy. They didn't see it coming, the sneak attack, the Hail Mary, the rope-a-dope. And we laughed for doubting ourselves, doubting our potential, doubting what we knew in our hearts we were capable of, and so much more. When we stopped apologizing, stopped asking for permission, and started believing, unexpected and inevitable, right on time, on the deathbed of white supremacy. It was then, it was here, right now, a second ago and a second before, that with this breath, with this passion and rage and this righteousness, with this heart pumping and these feet marching and these fists rising and these knees kneeling, with these words and the words of those before and beyond, and all this blackety black blackness, a breathing living victory, a breathing living testament, in this moment, on this day of this hour, in this minute, told every day like a mantra, in a holler, a whisper, a thought that tells us, that reminds us, that instructs us that this is when. This is when. This is when.
Here we are amongst the legends, the winning teams, the slam teams of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Thank you so much, Darien, for sharing your work. And now, who do we have next? A newbie, ladies and gentlemen. She is 19 years old. Her name is Jenna Fleeson. She is a student of government and politics. What? The next generation AOC, what up? She's studying at St. John's University, and this is her poem, I Want to Forgive You.
Dear Daddy, The other day, someone asked me how my dad can be a Trump supporter when his daughter is a Muslim hijab-wearing American. I said, it's probably because you appreciate the irony. Sometimes I miss you, but I really don't know how to say it through messenger video calls because I get afraid that you'll actually feel my emotions too. You make fun of me because I stand in the streets and preach for equality, but you don't think that's a necessity, and I can only blame your white fragility so much. Sometimes I wonder, did I learn my kindness and softness from your lips? Were you the one who taught me what forgiveness is? For that could only be the case. When I was younger, I would paint you as my own villain, unable to see the truth behind my youth because it was easier to say that my dad left me as opposed to the idea that the two people who made me just didn't fit. But Daddy, now I'm stuck and in trouble behind all the rubble you both have caused me. Do you know how hard it is to have political discussions with someone who is so narrow-minded? Someone who couldn't even begin to understand the difference between bigotry and the presidency. Newsflash, there is no difference, Dad. Explain to me why you think it's okay for that Cheeto of a man has the right to tell me to go back to my country. Daddy, this is my country. This is our country. Why do you think it's permissible for him to throw racial rhetoric out that leads to threats of all men and women who threaten to rip off my hijab? Have you not been the one to teach me to treat people the way you want to be treated? You make fun of Ilhan Omar and AOC, but Daddy, one day I want that to be me, and I think to myself, if I'm in office when you're still able to breathe, will you make fun of your daughter's own political policies? Daddy, and it's just gotten to the point where I can't even respond to such illogical remarks because climate change is not a hoax. I'll say it again. Climate change is not a hoax because why else would it be snowing in March in the middle of Las Vegas? When you say all lives matter, I can't help but hear you say that my life doesn't. And it's like we're in this tunneling down discussion where you can't seem to hear me because all you can comprehend is whatever I say must be nonsense, liberal BS that doesn't matter because I don't pay taxes yet. They say never to discuss politics at the dinner table, but I'm done eating already and I won't be having hypocrisy for dessert. I'm just asking you to hear me, just as I heard you. Love, your daughter. P.S. I want to forgive you.
And now we have come to our last video. Sadly, our last video. It is from Carlos Andres Gomez, a Colombian-American poet and the star of HBO's Def Poetry Jam. And he's also a proud papi of two. Hello. And here he is with reasons to stay.
Praise. Because my grandmother's final days lasted 23 years. And so we'd rush each time. Say goodbye and goodbye. Te quiero mucho, abuelita. Te adoro. Because my mother's truest mother is grief, who taught her the slack-jawed abandon of joy. Because my daughter strung together a 4-syllable word this afternoon. Because I say I love you so much to my wife mid-fight. And we chuckle sometimes between barbs like we forgot which characters we were supposed to play because I was given a best friend for all of 6 years. And we handwrote letters each week in bright ink, dreamed of whose hair would give way first because the dust gave me a reprieve from the storm on the way home from daycare today. Because the rain is a stubborn guard when I am most tired. And grace refuses the chariots, also known as that rickety stroller that has somehow not yet quit because Brent's metamorphoses those ticking minutes everyone else loses sleep over, shows up an hour early, or makes me wait while I reread the menu I've had memorized for a decade because we both pretend we don't know what we'll order, ask each other, then get the chicken pad thai every damn time because my sister and brother were once small enough to make a home of my curled arm. Because I loathe their arrival until that moment on the 7th floor of Mount Sinai because there are no half-siblings. Because my body begins to fail a little more each morning in minute and quiet increments like gradual, gorgeous rust. Because I courted death too long, but now dream of my retirement porch. Because my son's scalp at 76 seconds old. The 3 weeks he barely slept for more than 15 minutes. The lunges that shaped my quads and calmed his sobbing just long enough because I have wanted to be a father as long as I have feared its weight. Because I exhale knowing I cannot fail what I cannot leave. Because no one I know has grown more in 3 decades than my father. Because right now, the oven is performing its miracles. September is teasing us with its gentle warmth. Our daughter is coloring in vibrant looping scrawls that look like cartoon fireworks, or the curls wreathing the large eyes she's borrowed from her mother. And finally, I'm home.
And that was Carlos Andres Gomez. And if you want to check him out, go to carloslive.com. If you want to check me out, Elaine del Valle, director on social media, thank you very much. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our show. This is Digital Verse. And I just want to thank everybody, all of our supporters, for helping us, for supporting artists, for all of our artists who came out to generously share their work with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are providing all of this work free, virtually, online. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you, Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Thank you, the Greene Space. Thank you, WNYC. And if you guys want to make sure that you do not miss next month's show, there's only one way. There's only one way, and that is to subscribe to the newsletter. All you have to do is text TGS to 70101, and that's how you subscribe. All right, guys, that's it. I'm Elaine del Valle. I'll be seeing you next month on Digital Verse.